Well, we've all been there. You have a million things to do, but the couch feels like it has its own gravitational pull. Are you lazy or just conserving energy like a strategic genius? What if I told you that laziness might be the secret ingredient to success?
Sounds ridiculous, right? But once, one man's laziness accidentally saved millions of lives.
Meet Edward Benedictus, a French chemist who couldn't be bothered to clean his lamp. One day, a dirty flask fell to the ground, and instead of shattering, it stayed intact. Curious, Benedictus investigated and found that a thin, invisible film had formed inside the flask due to evaporation of a chemical solution. This unexpected lazy oversight led to the invention of laminated safety glass, a material that has since saved countless lives, in car accidents, for example.
So if laziness can lead to life-saving inventions, maybe we've been looking at it all wrong. Hello, my name is Lily, and today we're breaking down the science behind laziness.
When it's too much, and when it's actually useful, what your brain is really doing when you're in a do-nothing state, how procrastination is different from laziness, and how to turn both into a superpower.
First off, let's get one thing straight. Laziness isn't just lack of willpower, it's deeply tied to how our brains and bodies function. The brain is an energy hog, using about 20% of your total energy, even though it's only 2% of your body's weight.
One part of it, basal ganglia, acts as a decision-making system, constantly calculating whether a task is worthy based on how much energy it will take and what reward you might get in return. At the heart of this process is a brain chemical called dopamine. It's like the brain's reward calculator. It helps to determine whether a task feels rewarding enough to put in effort. When dopamine levels drop, the brain decides that the task requires too much effort for too little reward and lowers your motivation.
This lack of motivation is what we often think of as laziness. And all this is very evolutionary. Our caveman ancestors didn't waste energy unless they had to, because back then, you see, burning too many calories without a guaranteed meal meant a real trouble.
Fast forward to today, food is everywhere, and it's no longer growing in fields surrounded by deadly animals. Both are now neatly packed on the market shelves.
However, our brains still operate on that ancient energy-saving logic. This principle, known as energy minimalization, is found across the animal kingdom as well.
A cheetah spends most of its time lounging because sprinting after prey burns an enormous amount of energy. The same goes for lions. Sleeping around 20 hours a day, they conserve energy for explosive moments of action.
So it's not lazy, it's smart and strategic.
Some whales, like blue and humpback whales, won't open their mouths to feed unless there is enough fish or krill around. This is because their feeding method, called lunge feeding, is energy intensive. They take in huge amounts of water and prey, then filter out the food using baleen plates. If the fish are too spread out, they conserve energy by not feeding and waiting for better conditions when food is plentiful.
Also not lazy. It's a clever survival tactic to avoid wasting energy when food is scarce. Alright, laziness isn't just about not wanting to do something. It's the brain's way of conserving energy when it doesn't see enough benefit in the effort. But when does laziness become a problem? If occasional do-nothing lets you recharge, that's totally normal. But chronic avoidance of important tasks, that's when laziness turns into self-sabotage.
Sometimes what looks like laziness is actually burnout. Your brain forcing a shutdown after prolonged stress. It can stem from emotional states like chronic stress, anxiety or depression, creating a sense of inertia. This is the brain's response to emotional exhaustion or perceived threats, further reinforcing the stigma around laziness.
Our ancestors had to conserve energy for physical survival. But today, our biggest challenges are not physical, they're mental. Yet our brains are still wired for energy efficiency, often leading to perceived laziness.
Instead of running from predators, now we battle deadlines, emails, and never-ending to-do lists. But strangely enough, our brains still default to minimizing effort. Our instinct to conserve energy often clashes with society's demand for constant productivity. In many industrialized nations, hard work is tied to moral worth, while other cultures embrace rest as essential.
But intentional laziness, like breaks or daydreaming, actually boosts memory and problem solving. Proving that laziness isn't inherently bad, it depends on the context. Take Spain's siesta, for example.
This midday nap aligns with our natural energy dips, and rather than being unproductive, research shows it enhances cognitive functions, creativity, and productivity. In the end, laziness isn't just a personal flaw. It's a product of biology, psychology, and culture, shaped by both our brains and our environment. Studies show that short breaks can actually improve focus and efficiency. Meanwhile, hustle culture glorifies overworking, even though productivity often crashes after too many hours.
Our caveman's brain wants to conserve energy, but modern society demands non-stop productivity.
And that's where the endless scrolling begins. Your brain isn't just being lazy, it's avoiding cognitive overload.
Too much effort, your brain taps out, and that's why we procrastinate. Ever wondered why so many people do their best work at the last minute? There's a science behind that.
When a deadline is looming, your brain flutes with norepinephrine, a stress hormone that boosts focus and motivation. This is why students who procrastinate often pull off miracles overnight. Procrastination has been long associated with some of history's greatest minds like Da Vinci, Mozart, Darwin, Steve Jobs, and even genius architect Frank Lloyd Wright. It took Leonardo da Vinci over 16 years to finish Mona Lisa, and Frank Lloyd Wright procrastinated designing Falling Water, one of the greatest architectural works of all time, until weeks before presenting it. Then, in the last-minute creative frenzy, he designed a masterpiece. Research from the University of Pennsylvania indicates that structured procrastination, delaying tasks while still engaging in productive activities, can sometimes enhance creativity. Neuroscientists also point out that time pressure can trigger a burst of dopamine, sharpening focus and problem-solving abilities.
But procrastination isn't the same as laziness. While laziness stems from lack of motivation, procrastination is all about delaying tasks, knowing the consequences.
At its core, procrastination is a battle between emotions and logic. The amygdala, responsible for emotions like fear and stress, often seeks immediate escape through distractions, while the prefrontal cortex, which handles self-control and long-term planning, tries to keep us on track. Brain scans show that chronic procrastination weakens the connection between these regions, making it harder to stay focused.
From an evolutionary perspective, procrastination makes total sense. Humans are wired to prioritize immediate rewards over future ones, an instinct that once helped our ancestors survive but now makes it harder to tackle long-term goals.
The brain's reward system, driven by dopamine, also plays a role. When a task feels overwhelming or tedious, the brain doesn't release enough dopamine to sustain motivation. Delaying tasks can activate a default mode network, a network of interacting brain regions that is most active when you're at rest and not focused on the external world. It plays a key role in self-referential thinking, daydreaming, autobiographical memory, and planning for the future. This incubation phase allows ideas to develop beneath the surface, leading to breakthroughs.
Paradoxically, society's obsession with constant productivity can actually fuel both procrastination and burnout. The pressure to always be on, mixed with digital distractions, lead to cognitive overload, which can kill creativity. Yet studies show that moderate procrastinators often generate more creative ideas than those who jump into tasks immediately.
Some companies have caught on to this. Google, for example, embraces structured procrastination by giving employees time to pursue passion projects, which lead to game-changing tools like Gmail and Google Maps.
Other companies take a different approach, rethinking work schedules entirely.
Toyota experimented with a 4-day work week, and guess what? Productivity actually went up. Less forced work meant better results, not worse. Microsoft Japan tried a similar experiment and saw a 40% productivity boost. There's a popular quote often attributed to Bill Gates: "I choose a lazy person to do a hard job, because a lazy person will find an easy way to do it."
While there is no evidence he actually said this, the point is very interesting. What we call laziness might sometimes just be efficiency in disguise. So maybe the problem isn't laziness, it's inefficient work structures. Success isn't about eliminating procrastination or laziness, it's about harnessing them the right way. This isn't one of those 10 genius ways to be lazy and still get rich videos, but if there is solid science behind a technique, then we're in. So, can you actually turn laziness into a superpower? Well, science says you kind of can.
There are a few brain-friendly tricks that help you work smarter, not harder. The 2-minute rule. This comes from David Allen's Getting Things Done method, and it's based on psychological principle called the Zeigarnik effect, which shows that unfinished tasks linger in your brain, causing stress. If a task takes less than 2 minutes, doing it immediately clears up mental space and prevents small things from piling up.
But does GTD actually work? Well, some of its principles are backed by science. Studies on cognitive overload theory show that externalizing tasks, writing them down instead of mentally juggling them, reduces stress and improves focus. But here's a catch. If you spend too much time organizing tasks instead of doing them, you end up in what's called productivity theater, where you feel busy but aren't actually making progress.
So, the key is using GTD selectively, not as an endless list-making trap.
And speaking of taking action, have you ever noticed that a task somehow takes exactly as long as the time you give it? That's Parkinson's law in action.
If you give yourself a week to finish something, guess what? It will magically take a whole week. That's because work expands to fill the time available. But here's the trick. Studies on temporal perception suggest that shorter deadlines force the brain into a focused state by reducing procrastination triggers. So by deliberately giving yourself less time, you actually become more efficient because your brain prioritizes speed over perfectionism.
But let's be honest, deadlines alone don't always get you moving. Sometimes you need an extra push. That's called reward-based motivation. In this case, dopamine comes in, and as we learned today, your brain lives for it.
Research in behavioral psychology shows that small, immediate rewards boost motivation and reinforce habits. So if you struggle to start a task, link it to a reward, like only letting yourself grab the coffee after finishing a report. It's a simple trick, but it works because it taps into your brain's natural reward system, keeping you engaged and moving forward.
And if you really want to level up your decision-making, there is one tool that bosses, presidents, and top performers swear by: the Eisenhower matrix, or as many refer to it, the laziness filter.
It's not just a productivity hack. It's grounded in cognitive science, helping you reduce decision fatigue by sorting tasks based on urgency and importance. At its core, this method forces you to focus on what truly matters. Urgent and important tasks take priority to prevent stress and last-minute chaos. Important but non-urgent ones like long-term goals need to be scheduled so they don't fall through the cracks. Meanwhile, urgent but low-value tasks should be delegated or contained, while distractions and time wasters get cut altogether. Studies show that by eliminating mental clutter, you free up cognitive energy for meaningful work.
In a world obsessed with hustle, taking a moment to pause, reflect, or even procrastinate can be an act of quiet rebellion. As we learned today, strategic procrastination isn't just okay, it's essential for deep thinking and innovation.
And laziness has deep evolutionary roots, which helped our species to be where we are now. Behind countless great inventions is the idea to make something easier.
So next time you feel lazy, ask yourself, are you actually lazy, or is it your brain optimizing energy? If laziness is holding you back, tweak your habits. But if it's helping you rest and recharge, then maybe, just maybe, you're doing it all right. Thank you for your time. See you in the next video.